Hey guys, it's me Seren, back with another review video. This is going to be a review video for Ma Rainey's Big Black Bottom on Netflix, starring Chadwick Boseman, Viola Davis, Coleman Domingo. Really great, solid cast. This is based on a play by August Wilson, who was a Pulitzer Prize winning Black American playwright from Pittsburgh. He wrote a series of plays, 10 plays, called A Centennial Cycle, and each of the plays was about a different decade in Black America. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I believe, was the second or third in the cycle. I believe the second, because it's set in the 1920s. This is the only one of the plays to be about a real person. All of the other ones are sort of like fictitious scenarios, but Ma Rainey was a real woman, a real jazz musician. I might have done a Hidden Figures on her. I'm not sure. If I haven't done it, if I have done one, I'll include a link in the description box. If I haven't done one, I will include links on some information on Ma Rainey. I have been lucky enough to see this play live on stage. I'm trying to see all 10 of these plays before I die. So I've seen Ma Rainey, luckily, and I've also been lucky enough to see Jitney as well, which I would love if they did a movie out of Jitney. So this is going to be a review for Ma Rainey. This one I don't think is going to be in the good, the bad, and the ugly format. Wonder Woman was in the good, the bad, and the ugly format, even though I didn't say it in the beginning. This one I think is just going to be sort of a recap and review with some of my thoughts. Especially, I'll be doing some comparisons between the stage play and the movie as well. So let's get into it. I want to start off by saying that this film was filmed beautifully. It had a really rich, sumptuous look to it. The lighting was excellent, and I know that they really went out of their way to create some really ideal, optimal lighting for Black skin and for Black bodies. And I felt like there was just a lot of like really rich jewel tones, a lot of purples, a lot of golds. I do love the 20s. I love the visual aesthetic of the 20s, as I've said previously. Probably the 20s, which is why I have to watch Gatsby. Probably like the 20s and the 70s are my personal favorite eras aesthetically, from like the way that people dress, and I just love like the flapper era and the flapper style, and the jazz era and the jazz style. And they did an amazing, wonderful job with the costumes, with the hair, like the set design. I just feel like if you can get, a lot of these productions that are being made right now, the production value, if you can like get some money for your project, or if you can get your project like picked up by, one of these big companies like Netflix or HBO or WB Warner Brothers, you can see that like money is being sunk into these projects. Like money is being sunk into these projects. I know that some of these projects were clearly already in the works, but I do feel, having now seen Jingle Jangle and Ma Rainey, and watching even Soul, which you guys know I didn't like, but I definitely do feel like there's some type of push to start investing more money in Black projects, and so the production values are just really stunning with Ma Rainey and with a lot of these other projects. Something that also really stood out to me from the beginning was the fact that even though this is a adaptation of a screenplay that doesn't really give you too much background information, you're kind of just thrown in. This one sets us up with like a little bit more background information. We start off by seeing some sort of intertitles about like the Great Migration and Black Americans kind of like fleeing the South for the North, and lynchings. And I feel like this information was introduced to us in the beginning because obviously we find out later on that Levy is dealing with the trauma, really the PTSD from the rape of his mother, and from, lynchings, and from violence in the South, racial violence in the South, and racism and the system of white supremacy. And so I kind of think that they introduced that stuff for the people that didn't know, or which is just so weird to me because it seems like such an integral part of like my brain, my life, and like my history, and even my personality. So it's really interesting to think of them like sort of putting these cards so that people be like, yeah, like Great Migration, Southern violence, this is why people left the South. This is the background context of like what you're looking at with this band and Ma Rainey. We meet our main characters, Toledo, Mel, Irv, and Levy. Ma Rainey, who is the star of this white Jewish-owned race record label. Race records mean black records. So they print, they do jazz, they do blues. You know, this would be obviously pre-funk, obviously pre-R&B, obviously pre-hip-hop, you know, but Black Americans remain sort of the roots of, we are the roots of all of the popular culture of the United States and all of the popular music genres of the United States. And this movie, gives a little bit of insight into, in the 20s, how that worked. You know, basically you had a lot of very extremely talented Black Americans that were from the South, but could no longer stay in the South for safety purposes, ended up leaving the South. A lot of people ended up going north or going to the Midwest, you know, going out to Chicago, going to Detroit, going to New York, going to Washington, D.C., you know, going to all these places and taking our talents with us, right? The music that, you know, came from the juke joints and came from all these places, like gravitated with us. It migrated with us up north. And now you have these people that they love the music, they love the records, they want to buy the records. And yet, again, it's the 1920s, so we can't form our own labels. We can't sell our own music. We can only do juke joints and chitlin tours. And I love that Ma Rainey, and this is exactly how she is in the play as well, Ma Rainey doesn't really give a fuck about, like, these race records and these labels, and she continuously threatens throughout the film, like, I can go back down south anytime I want. You know, I don't even like it up here. Like, I'm only up here because I can make a little bit of money up here, but like, I can go back to my tour through the South at any day. Yes, I know that it's not one of these white labels. Yes, sure, but I know all you want to do is like get some money out of me in the first place. I really don't give a fuck about you, Ma. Let's talk about Ma. Ma Rainey is considered the mother of the blues. This is a title that was given to her. She was one of the first Black American blues singers to actually record records and, you know, sort of put her voice down on wax. And she's also one of the first Black American singers that was actually a professional singer. Like, she was a career singer. Like, this is what she did for work. This is what she did for money, you know? And Ma Rainey she's a lesbian, like, her girlfriend is Taylor Page, like, and again, it's exactly the same way in the play. Let me say that sometimes when they adapt stage plays for movies, they kind of like flesh it out. They kind of like push it out and develop a whole sort of backstory, and, you know, like, they do a lot of expansion to turn it sort of into a movie as we think of movies. This one, Ma Rainey, was basically, you know, almost like a Hamilton type thing, like almost like they just recorded the play they recorded the play and then they presented it to us as a movie, you know. Obviously they gave us like actual Chicago like set pieces and design, and, you know, like, they actually go outside and they go to the store and things like that, things that you're able to do with a movie that you can't do on a stage where, you know, you have a limited space. You just have your set and that's it. But they really stayed very close to like the dialogue of the play, the language of the play, which it would have been sacrilege if they changed August Wilson's fucking dialogue, because his dialogue and his rendering of these like really authentic, you know, Black American figures, Ma Rainey was what he was known for. Ma Rainey was my first one of his plays that I ever saw. Ma Rainey was the first stage play that I ever saw that was written by a Black American. And I remember sitting there in the audience and just being like, look at how these niggas talk. Like, they're saying niggas so much, and like they're cursing, and just like the way that they're talking to each other. I was like, I've never seen anything like this, and I've never seen anything like this in this setting, you know? And because I'm sitting there, I'm watching him up on stage, and it really felt like August Wilson really understood culture. He really understood our culture, our speech patterns, our dialect, for what he was trying to convey with this Centennial series. And his dialogue, his language is still magical to me. Like, it still holds up. And so watching this, you know, sort of film adaptation of it and hearing the language and you know, seeing the way that these men and women are interacting was still really, really, really special for me to witness, you know. And Ma Rainey herself is like, she's that girl. Like, she's like, listen, I know exactly who I am. Like, I know who I am. I'm a singer. I sing the blues. Like, I'm talented. Like, I'm an artist. And I know what these people want from me. Like, they just want my voice. Like, they just want my voice. They want to be able to make money off me. They want my talent. They know that as soon as they get my voice down on that record on wax, they don't need me anymore. So before I sign any of these contracts, before, whatever, I'm going to get everything that I can get out of these white people because they don't give a fuck about me. Like, none of them, they don't care about me. So I'm going to act like I don't care about them. They're not my friends. Like, they're not my buddies. Like, I don't fuck with them. Like, they want something from me. I want something from them. I want my money. Like, and I don't care. And I love seeing that shit on screen. Like, I love that attitude. And I know it's going to be people that feel like Ma Rainey is a bitch and she's this and she's that, but like Ma Rainey does not have on rose-colored glasses about the world. She knows how the world is and she's saying it how it is. And I just love how from beginning to end, like Ma Rainey takes control of every situation. We do see her having a moment later on with, I want to say Coleman Domingo. He's the leader of her band and, they've been together for a really long time. He knows how she likes to do things. He continues to try to like get Levy, who's like the young hothead, in order and in line. Like, this is how we do things. This is how Ma likes things to be done. Ma knows what she wants. But ultimately what I felt was really interesting about this movie was that what people were trying to say to Levy without saying the words is that like almost like Ma's trying to teach you something and we're all trying to teach you something. Like, we all know the game. Like, we know these white people. Like, we know what it is. In a lot of ways, Levy is almost trying to like treat these white people as a friend. Like, yeah, I wrote the songs for you just like you asked. Like, I'm trying to get my own band together. Like, trying to be buddy with them and thinking in certain type of ways, even though he knows, like, he's seen what these white people are fucking capable of. He's literally seen it, which he says when they try to like sort of rib on him on like, oh, you really like sucking up to the boss. Like, you really like white people, huh? He like has this whole emotional breakdown where he tells them, where he came from and what happened to his parents and what led to him even coming out to Chicago. Like, I know them crackers. Yet on the flip side, you're still trying to infiltrate in with them in a certain type of way that somebody like Ma Rainey is like looking at you like, that shit ain't gonna go where you want it to go. And then by the end, we see that it hasn't. That they, this man takes his songs that he gave to him before he even got paid. Says, I'll give you $5 for the songs. And then we close the film with the white boy singing the songs because that's exactly what white people do with all of our Black American genres. They ride us into money. They ride us and our records into money. And then they try to figure out a way to whitewash it to make it more palatable for white audiences. And like, this is what happens. And that's really like, this is a film and a play that's about the way that Black people, Black artists, Black Americans, Black culture is used and then discarded. I love the noir element as well. As many of you guys know, that's probably one of my favorite genres, noir. And I feel like the setting really, really works for Black people. Maybe that's like a weird statement, but like I felt like they had some noir elements like tinged into Marshall, the Thurgood Marshall movie with Chadwick. I love the noir elements of like Devil in a Blue Dress, Denzel, Spike Lee classic. I just feel like those type of elements really, really work. And I love to see that type of, look and visual aesthetic played around with Black people. I thought that was a really solid choice. Even the Black Bottom, like Ma Rainey's Big Black Bottom, the Black Bottom was a dance. I'm going to read you guys a little bit about it. Originating among Black Americans in the rural South, the Black Bottom eventually was adopted by mainstream American culture and became a national craze in the 1920s. The dance was most famously performed by Ann Pennington, who's white, a star of the Ziegfeld Follies, who performed it in a Broadway revue staged by Ziegfeld's rival George White in 1926. So like this dance was made famous by this like white woman, Ann Pennington, and then it became this like craze. When I was filming season 2 of The Black Americans, we drove through St. Louis. We filmed some episodes in St. Louis. We got to go to the Scott Joplin house. Scott Joplin is basically the inventor of ragtime, which is seen as like the first uniquely American genre and a precursor to a lot of the stuff that we ended up seeing in the 1920s, the dances and the musical genres. And so this whole show, this play, and now this movie is about On the one hand, it's about, again, like the appropriation, the cultural appropriation of Black American culture by the white mainstream. There are some underlying themes in there as well about white Jews. Now, the white Jew stuff was toned down a lot for this Netflix production. The original play by August Wilson also makes some statements about the ways that white Jewish people in the United States are sort of able to kind of play the field. And, kind of fence straddle, because they're able to interact with Negroes in a certain type of way, as like, we're like you, like we're outcasts, like we too are on the outskirts of society. And yet, like, come on, like, sure, we'll make race records. Like, yeah, we'll record your stuff. Like, sure, we'll take care of you. Like, we know those like white people won't do it, but we'll do it. But then on the other hand, they are in fact also white. And this idea of them, once they get her voice, once they get Levy's songs, once they get these things, then whitewashing them and having their own, sort of white boys come in to record it, or again, having somebody like this white woman, Ann Pennington, come in to dance the Black Bottom to, again, whitewash it and make it, quote unquote, more palatable for a white audience, and how white Jewish people sort of act as a conduit for that. That's also one of the sort of sub-themes of Black Bottom. And also the sort of interpersonal relationships between the band members, who are these Black men at various stages of life, younger, older. Again, you have Levy, who's sort of meant to be the young part of, I guess you could say, the young upstart, or part of a younger generation that doesn't really just want to, keep their heads down and kind of get by. They're angry, they're passionate, they've seen, lynching, they've seen this race-based violence, and they feel that they've sort of gotten out of the South, and now they want, something else, or they want something more for themselves. Which, it's really interesting to see those concepts of this, just like this hothead juxtaposed up against Ma Rainey, who in a lot of ways wants the same things and has achieved those same things, but not in a way of, being nice to white people or being respectable to them or being friendly with them, but instead kind of standing firm in this belief of like, I know who I am, like I am who I am, this Black woman from the South. I'll go back to the South at any moment. I know I'm the talent. I know I'm the voice. I know what you want from me. So I'm going to get every little thing that I can out of you. And I don't care, because like you're white. Like I know who you are. And again, seeing her relationship with the band members that know how she likes things to be done. And all of them are older, with the exception, again, of Levy, who's sort of the young upstart. And, they're just kind of trying to like make their money, do what they love, perform their music, and get out and kind of move on. This is like another, again, like the generational, sort of this idea of a generational divide of like one generation, or like one, group or collective, whatever you want to call it, of like Black people that want to do one thing, and another group that wants to do something else. And this sort of push-pull and this like struggle within sort of the culture on like what's going to be the way, the way forward. When I first saw this play, I saw it in one of those places that they do sort of like a question and answer session afterwards, and there was these white people sitting in the audience, and this like white, I'll never forget this, and I saw this play maybe like 4 years ago, and this white man asked the question of, so at the end of the play, spoilers, because this is a twist, at the end of the play, Levy stabs Toledo. When I saw the play, this white man was like, I don't understand why he stabbed him. I don't understand, like, why he made this big deal. Because, so, in the beginning of the play, Levy sees a new pair of shoes that he really wants. He spends $11 on these shoes, which is a lot of money, back then. And the shoes are representative of this dream that Levy has of, I'm gonna write these songs. I'm young, like I can see into the future, like I can see what the future of music's gonna be, and the future of music is not gonna continue on being, this Chitlin Circus stuff, this Black Bottom stuff. Like the young people want to hear something else. And I think that this is also, again, representative of like a generational shift, where you have like this older generation that's a little bit more respectful, and understandably so, of, what they're doing right now, and more respectful of Ma Rainey as well. And then you have this sort of younger generation that's like, well, I know, I see the future. Like, I know what the kids want to hear. I know what's going to be the next big thing. I have these like big dreams for myself. I'm going to put my own band together. I'm going to write my own songs, and I'm going to take Ma's girl too. Like Levy in a way wants to be Ma. Like, he even says, like, he likes the way that Ma talks to people. He likes the way that Ma walks around, like, he admires her. He wants to like be her, but he wants to go about it in his own type of way. And his type of way of going about it is almost like, infiltrating in, and again, like being friendly with these fucking white people. And you can't do that. Like, I'm of the mind that you can't do that. And what ends up happening is, he gets like stabbed in the back by this white man at the end. And then Toledo steps on his shoes. In the play, he actually does scuff them. I felt like in this movie rendition of it, there wasn't really a scuff there. I think they tried to make it seem like Levy's like heartbroken, because this occurs right after the white man basically steals his songs from him and says like he's not going to put a band together for him. He's not going to have him sing his own songs. He'll just like pay him for them, and that's it. And so he's crestfallen. He's heartbroken. He's dealing with the fallout of like, wow, like, you can't trust these crackers, like they not shit. Like, Ma Rainey has been like right, and like Ma Rainey's going to continue on, and he gets fired from the band because he keeps butting heads up against her and like not wanting to go with how she wants things to be. And so now, you're out on your ass, like you're out of the band. This like white man didn't come through for you. And then Toledo sort of steps on his shoes, and the shoes are meant to be a material representation of like Levy's dreams for the future, right? Like, I'm going to get this band. I'm going to, champion this new sound. I'm going to sing my own songs. Like, and I don't need to hold on to this $11 for these shoes, because like I'm going places, and I'm going to need these nice shoes. And these shoes are representative of like where I'm going, right? Like my dream. And then this white man sort of like crushes that dream. And then Toledo steps on the shoes and scuffs them. And Levy basically snaps, like, why'd you have to step on my shoes? Why'd you have to step on my shoes? And just really ends up taking out all of his anger and his heartbreak and his frustration that's been building and building throughout the course of the play movie. And he stabs Toledo and kills Toledo. Well, again, while I was watching the stage play, this white man is like, I don't understand, like, why did he kill Toledo? Like, why were the shoes that serious? Like, it's not that serious. And I know in real life, like, black people kill each other over shoes all the time. Like, I don't understand. Y'all, when I tell you the rage that bubbled up in me, and the docent was like, does anybody want to answer that? I was like, me, pick me. And the guy was like, you seem like you have something you want to say. And I was like, the shoes are not, I was like, in real life as well as in this play, because August Wilson understands black people. He understands black American. It's not just about shoes. The shoes are emblematic of these dreams that this a black character has that have now been crushed, first by this white man, and then first, metaphorically by this white man, and then literally Toledo steps on the shoes. I was like, he can't go kill that white man. He can't go stab the white man, because he's gonna fucking go to jail forever, or they're gonna give his ass the electric chair or something. Like, he can't kill him. He just can't do it. It's 1920. I mean, couldn't do it now either. I was like, but he's in this space with the band members, reeling from what just happened, and then Toledo steps on the shoe, so he instead takes out his frustration on Toledo. I was like, and this is something that does in fact happen within our community all the time, that we take out our frustrations on each other, because, it's almost like the black person next to you is the easy target, when you can't get to the white person that's up at the top. I was like, and even nowadays, people love to talk about like niggas buying Jordans and niggas buying this and niggas buying that, but these items are still representative of what people want, which is a better future for themselves, which is to fucking get out of the mud and fucking get something for themselves. And we do live in a capitalist society that ties these type of things to material gain, which white people also created. So what you're seeing is the emotional breakdown of someone that has just had the rug pulled up from under them after also dealing with a lifetime of racial stress. And then they fucking snap. I was like, and of course you don't get it, because you're a fucking white person that has fucking hundreds of dollars to afford fucking play tickets. And the white man was just sitting there like stepping on a black person's shoes is a cultural insult. And it's not just because like, niggas like shoes. Or, like, people don't ever want to, like, really examine what is underneath this idea, right, of like stepping on a Black person's shoes being a cultural insult. Ma Rainey's Big Black Bottom, again, really sort of digs into the meat and potatoes of the idea of like, what do the shoes represent? You know, the shoes represent a better life. The shoes represent, you know, what can be accomplished for us, you know, if we can get out of, you know, the mud. And so when you step on my shoes, it's like you're stepping on my hopes and dreams. Like you're like, that's really how it's taken, and that's really how Levy takes it. And again, this is one of the only films that I've ever seen that addresses, you know, the why, and, you know, looks into all of these underlying situations on why, like, Black people and niggas are the way that we are without chastising us, because it also, again, gives us all of these different multifaceted portrayals of Blackness and all of the characters, so we can see everybody's idea, we can see everybody's ideology, we can see how everybody feels about it, you know, like, we can see that, for example, Coleman Domingo is like the peacemaker, for example. Toledo is like the oldest one, and he's really trying to like, but he's still trying to like help Levy. He harps on Levy the most, but he feels like he's trying to help Levy. Levy's not trying to hear it, you know? And so we continuously see these like different, again, like I would say that, no, you know, I wouldn't say that like our main characters are like the band members, but we see the 4 different band members, Black men of different ages, interacting with these like different ideas about like, this is how we need to move forward, this is what's important, this is how we need to sort of, you know, get our people together and move forward now that we're sort of like past slavery or whatever. And then you also have like Ma Rainey, and then you also have like the white record owners and like what they're trying to do. We have all these moving parts that sort of create this portrait of Black American life, which is the whole point, and what we're going through. Even all of the conversations and the dialogue that happens amongst, again, like amongst the band members themselves, amongst Ma Rainey and her girlfriend. I will say that my main gripe with this is her girlfriend, Taylor Page, is undercut and underwritten. She's really only meant to represent this prize. She's like a prize that currently Ma Rainey has that Levy wants. And, you know, I do wish that she had been written with some hopes and dreams and goals of her own, aside from kind of just like representing this like prize figure, this like trophy girlfriend or whatever. That was like one of my main gripes. But I do feel that that's how she's written in the play as well, which is a little bit unfortunate. And so I do wish that, and August Wilson can write, you know, Black women characters. It's not a manner of him not being able to write Black women characters. So, I mean, like Ma Rainey herself is like amazing in this piece. Fences is also by August Wilson, you know. So I do wish that they had either like cut her out entirely, or if they were going to include her, they had like expanded out her role. But ultimately, I think that this film did a really good job of staying true to the messaging of the original play. And I really think my favorite thing about this film is that they like stuck with this trademark August Wilson dialogue that's almost like a song, like it's almost like verse. And it's really just like Black Americans talking to each other for each other. There is like no white gaze within this body of work. The whole thing to me is, you know, very familiar. Like this group of niggas standing around smoking, talking, you know, they waiting for Ma to come, and, you know, they just talking, you know, they just shooting the shit. Like the whole, everything August Wilson does just has all this familiarity for me, you know, like just the way that they talk and the things that they're talking about. And, you know, now this nigga talk about trains, like, you know, the ripping and the roasting each other, the joning on each other, I feel like I don't see that enough. And it's like, this play's old as fuck. Like, I really want to get more new, fresh, you know, original content that like has this type of authenticity, which we're just not getting anymore the same way, you know. Part of why you really, me, not you, can't speak for anybody else, but part of why myself or, you know, you or the audience can relate to Levy is because like Levy does have talent, you know. Levy is an amazing horn player, you know. He has this huge ego, big ego, but he has big charisma, and he talks about, you know, like, I'm an artist, like I want to play real music, I want to get my own band. Like he has all these ambitions, you know. I'm gonna I'm going to, rehearse my own songs. Now, again, this sort of translates into disrespect of Ma Rainey. And I think that that's also something that occurs, in real life, that people end up disrespecting the people that they most admire and most want to be like because they are threatened by them and they're threatened by their presence. And I think that that was also something that they were toying around with a little bit as well. The idea of a larger than life female presence, and how do men of all races react to that presence as well? Ma goes everywhere causing a scene. Like, Ma's the boss. Like, from when we first meet Ma, and she's getting into this altercation with this white police officer over this car, Ma's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, don't you know who I am? Like, I don't fucking care. Like, I don't fucking care that you're white. I don't fucking care that you're a man. I don't give a fuck about none of this. Like, and she keeps repeatedly saying, like, I go back to my tour in the South. Like, I don't like being up here, no way. Like, fuck all of y'all. Like, I'm the fucking boss. Like, I'm the voice. I'm making all of y'all so much fucking money. Like, y'all trying to fucking run me dry. You gonna fucking support me through everything I want to do. You're gonna get me out of this mess with this white police officer in this car, and you're gonna get my motherfucking car fixed, and you're gonna get my motherfucking coat, and you're gonna turn the motherfucking air on in this bitch so I can record. And you're going to have my stuttering ass nephew on the track too doing the intro. I don't give a fuck how long it takes, because at any moment I walk right out of here and I'm the talent. All y'all about to make some money off me, so you're going to do what I want. Because I also know once you get what you want from me as a woman, as a black woman, as an artist, as all these things, you're going to discard me. So I'm going to get out ahead of that. How do we react to that as well when that's a black woman? That's another thing that we really explore through this play and now this film. This is like, I told you guys, when I saw this on stage, my mind was blown. Like, I remember like leaving and just going home, laying in my bed, like, I've never seen anything like that. Like, that was amazing. Like, loved it. And I definitely feel like they, caught that spirit with this adaptation. I know you guys, a lot of you guys watch How to Get Away with Murder and love it as well. I've never watched that, but I do know one of the draws of the show is that a lot of people really enjoy seeing Viola Davis get to be like a sexual figure. That was something I really enjoyed about Ma Rainey as well. Like, when Ma Rainey first shows up, I was like, them things thangin'. Like, the titties was sitting. Again, I thought the light was just like very beautiful, sumptuous skin. I felt like her makeup was like very good and reminiscent of that time period, the 20s. I loved her gold teeth. I loved her red lipstick. Like, loved the clothes. Taylor Page looked amazing. Like, I just loved this. I just kept thinking, like, this is so rich and sumptuous looking. Like, everybody, I just want to just lick everybody's face, even though it's like hot as fuck and like niggas is sweating. But I do like a period piece. And I just thought they did a really beautiful job of, obviously Viola just is amazing as Ma Rainey and her embodiment of this larger than life figure, who we also see get to have a moment where she is sort of open and tender when she is talking with Coleman Domingo. I keep saying Coleman Domingo. I know I'm not saying his name. Sorry. Cutler is Coleman Domingo's name. But when she's like talking to Coleman Domingo like later on about how she like knows like what they want from her, like this could very easily be read as like, oh, she's a bitch, like she's just a bitch, she's an angry black woman, or she's a bitch, she's aggressive, she's domineering, all these things. And yet we still get to see her be multifaceted and have a moment with Coleman Domingo's character of like, I know what they want from me. And, I'm not going to just roll over and give it to them, which is literally something that we see Levy do later on. Like, they're going to have to drag it out of me kicking and screaming. They're going to compensate me for my time. And they're going to do everything I want. But it's not just because I'm a bitch. These are the reasons. We got to see all this multifaceted representations of blackness. So one of the strongest scenes, obviously, was when after Levy talks to Mr. Sturtevant and gives him the music and stuff, and they say, oh, you spooked up, he sure does shuffle his feet for the white man, but don't want to listen to Ma. That was an interesting scene because, they're ragging on Levy, and Levy's trying to get them to leave him alone, which number one is funny because like the whole time Levy's been ragging on everybody, but then he kind of can't take it when they start ragging on him and telling him, you're spooked up by the white man. And then he sort of tells them how the white men came to his house, how they raped his mom, they killed his father, they took his father's land. He took a knife and tried to like cut one of their throats, and he got like whacked across the chest, and then he like showed the scar, and then he tried to tell them like, you don't know me, like you don't know Levy, like You don't know nothing about me. And then Toledo has this monologue about, like how Black people are a stew, how we Black Americans are a stew, and we've made a bunch of different things, and we're the leftovers of this previous time, right? Slavery, American chattel slavery, and Jim Crow and Reconstruction, and even now, further on in 2020, we're on drugs, mass incarceration. We are the product of a lot of these things. And so it's like, what are we going to do with ourselves? How are we going to move forward? What are we going to decide to do? And I think ultimately that's the question that's being posed by Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And it doesn't really give us an answer. It's something that you have to think about for yourself as a Black American and kind of come to your own conclusions of what are you going to do? Like, are you going to be a Ma figure? Are you going to be a Levy figure? Are you going to be a Toledo or a Cutler figure? What are you going to do with this knowledge and with this understanding of yourself as a Black American that sort of, was born out of these circumstances? And how are you going to move forward? Which, that's the question, isn't it? Also, before I go, I want to talk a little bit about some of the underlying themes about art and the artist outside of the cultural appropriation stuff. There is a moment where Ma says, people are talking about Bessie, which I have to watch that Bessie movie with Queen Latifah, but they're talking about Bessie, the singer Bessie Smith. And Ma's like, I don't care about Bessie. I taught Bessie. I don't care what nobody else does. She's like, Ma was first. I sing my songs the way I want. I don't care about Levy. I don't care about these new arrangements. I don't care about anything. I just listen. She basically says, I listen to the voice inside of me, Ma is an artist too. It's funny because Levy has this disdain, right, for the rural Southern stuff. He has this disdain for the Black Bottom. He has this disdain for the Chitlin Circuit. He says, I don't want to sing that country stuff. I don't want to sing that country stuff. I'm new, I'm modern, I'm an artist. I want to, do some other stuff, which again gets into kind of this disdain that a lot of us have for, the South and for where we came from. And that you guys know how I feel about that. It's because we've been brainwashed to feel like our culture ain't shit and our Southern roots ain't shit, and that, white people shit and city shit and all this shit is better. It's real art, things that white people can have access to is real art, even though our shit is what made everything. But, Ma has this attitude as well of I'm an artist and I know my value. And I know that my Southern work, my rural work, my Chitlin Circuit, my blues also has value, and I don't care what anybody else is doing. I listen to the voice inside of me and what that voice says do. And she said she has a monologue herself where she's like, that's why I don't let white people get away with shit. I let them know Ma don't stand for no shit. They don't care nothing about me. All they want is my voice, and I've learned that. So they're going to treat me how I want to be treated, She's like, I know. As soon as they get my voice down on wax, she says recording machines. As soon as they get my voice down on one of them recording machines, they have no use for me. Even, my manager, Irvin, everybody, this white man been my manager for 6 years. But I know he doesn't care about me either. If you're colored and you can make them some money, then they like you. Otherwise, you're a dog in the alley. So I'm going to get mine, and I'm going to keep on moving forward. And I'm going to know what my value is from inside, from within. In a lot of ways, I feel like Levy is a story of an artist that's looking for external validation to cope with all of the traumatic events that he's seen, And Ma is like, I've already found that validation in myself, which is also why Ma Rainey is that girl. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm just going to continue on doing me, which I think is a really valuable lesson. Even though you do, as an artist, also have to be able to listen. Because there is also something to be said for the idea of Levy's song, The Jelly Roll, was a hit, which is why he stole them. Mr. Suderman stole them and had the white people cover them at the end. So there is also something to be said for being able to roll with the times and have an ear for what's, up and coming as well. Really interesting themes there about art and the nature of the artist. So just going through my notes, some other scenes that I really liked. I enjoyed Ma saying white folks don't understand the blues, that she sings as a way to understand life. I really liked that. The idea of art as a way to interpret the things that are happening to us in our real lives. And white people don't have souls, so they can't get that. I also liked, what else? Oh, I liked when Toledo is trying to actually give Levy advice about hooking up with Dusty May, who's Ma's girl, that, all Dusty May cares about is like being with somebody that can take care of her. Which, again, I feel like I wish they flesh Dusty May out more, because I don't think there's anything wrong with like wanting to be taken care of, especially as a Black woman, because Black women have gone through, stuff as well. So just like the Black men have. So I don't think there's anything wrong with like Dusty May wanting to be with someone that could take care of her. So I wish that she was a more fleshed out character. But when Levy is kind of trying to like push up on Dusty May and tell her how like he's gonna have money one day too, Toledo's like, like that's Ma's girl. Like you don't want to do that. Like, nigga, that's Ma's girl. And Toledo says, like, some men are excited to be a fool. I've been a fool over a woman, too, You feel the excitement, but then you have to deal with the consequences, which is, like, some foreshadowing, because, like, Levy, gets carried away in his emotions later, and he kills Toledo, and now he's going to have to deal with the consequences of that action. There was a scene where they all gave anecdotes on... The band gives anecdotes on people they know and where they've been and like what's happened racially, like casual retellings of racism and how it's affected all of them. I really like that scene because I feel like a lot of the times when I watch movies and TV shows, they have like race talks that are like these big grandiose, like it's like obviously meant for a white viewer. It's obviously meant for a white gaze. It's not the way that like niggas actually talk about race and like race relations and shit that's happened to us in real life. In Ma Rainey, we see people having this type of conversation in a way that feels real. So overall, I really enjoyed this film adaptation. I like that they played it really faithful to the stage play, especially in terms of the dialogue. I do, again, wish they had, like, fleshed out Taylor Page's character. That's, like, my one main gripe, is I really wish they had, like, fleshed her out a bit more. And, I mean, I guess they could have, like, fleshed it out more in general, added some, other scenes or some in-betweens, or, I know there's probably going to be people that felt like it wasn't a real movie, but it was based off of a play. I think a lot of people didn't know that going in. And I like that they stuck to the play structure because really, even though this is such a limited window into these people's lives, like just this moment of them trying to like record this record with Ma Rainey, it's really emblematic of that time period and so many of the things that were on the minds of the Black American community and things that continue to be relevant with art, with the music industry, with business, with with our community and our culture and trying to figure out what's going to be the next steps with some generational divides. All these things are still relevant. And I mean, we're in 2020, about to be 2021 by the time y'all watch this probably. So, we're 100 years after the fact of when this was set, and we're still, dealing with a lot of these type of issues. They're still contemporary issues. So I'm really glad that they made this and introduced this piece to a wider audience. So check it out. If you've never read the play or seen the play, you can find it online. And I hope that they do some more of these. I believe that Chadwick and Denzel Washington were executive producers on this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, Chad has passed away. May he rest in peace. I thought he was incredible in this. I thought all of the acting was amazing. I've seen some people say they felt like parts of it were overacted. I don't agree. Again, I do think that my opinion is a little bit skewed because I've seen the stage play, and they were very true to the stage play. So I thought that the acting was really amazing. I thought that I loved Viola Davis as Ma Rainey. Like, she just blew me out of the water. I really enjoyed Chadwick as Levy. I thought he did a really good job of capturing Levy's kind of like brash energy, but also his pain, like his hurt side. And I loved the other characters as well. I thought the casting was really great, and everybody, really, I felt like they really did the stage play justice. So Ma Rainey's Black Bottom on Netflix review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. One more review left, Man on the Moon 3. I don't know when you guys are watching this, but Happy New Year. Food for thought as always. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.